Hello students, this is Sudeep Yadav from Spectrum Chemistry, and students, if you are first time visiting to my channel, so please like and subscribe my channel and press the bell icon to get a best explanation of NCERT book class 7th subject science. And students, if you are watching this video, so please go to my playlist and watch the previous part of this chapter to create a better understanding for this chapter. And students, today we are going to discuss about soil and its properties. So let's start students. What are the important properties of the soil? Okay, so let's see students, but before we will discuss about the properties of the soils, let's see types of the soils on the basis of their particle size. Okay, so here you can see there are the three kinds of the soils, that is the sand, silt and the clay. Okay, and here the size of the particles for the different kinds of the soils given in this picture. You can see, like if you talk about the sand soil, so it having 0.05 millimeter to 2 millimeter its size, its particle size, average particle size this is. Okay students, now silt having 0.002 millimeter to 0.05 millimeter, means its size is going to very less, means small size. Is it clear? Now third one, that is clay, its size is 0.002 millimeter. Okay, so this is the average size of the particles of the sand soil, of the silt soil and the clay soil. Okay students, so now we are going to discuss about the properties of the soils. That is very important. Okay, so what are the properties of the soils? Let's see students. Number first, percolation of water through the soil. Percolation, what is the percolation? Let's see students. Percolation can be defined as the property of the soil by which it allows the flow of water through it. The rate at which water percolates or moves through soil may vary in different kind of the soils. Some soils absorb water while other allows it to flow through them. And what is the rate of the percolation can be calculated by from this formula, that is percolation rate equals to amount of water upon the percolation time. Okay, and here the units are given, that is the milliliter upon minute equals to milliliter upon minute. Okay, so here is a unit is given for the percolation, rate of percolation. Okay, now you can see here in this figure there is a number of the grooves, means you can say vacancies in between the soil particles, okay, through which the water, the rainwater can goes down inside the soil. Okay, and this is the percolation. Okay, the flow of the water from the surface to inside the soil, and it will pass through the vacancies which are existing in between the particles, that is known as a percolation. Okay, now moisture, what is moisture? Let's see students. Moisture is the amount of water that is present in the soil. Even a dry soil has some amount of moisture in the air. However, the clay soil has the highest content of moisture. So means the best soil is a clay soil. Okay, now which having a most moisture. Okay, now next, why air above farmland appears shimmering during the daytime? Okay, so let's see students, what will be the answer for this question. We know that soil contains water. Due to sunlight, the water from the soil begins to evaporate. Okay, means it will be converted into vapor form. Okay, and turns into water vapor. This water vapor, when reflects the sunlight, appears as if it is shining, and hence the air above the soil makes the land look shimmery. Okay, so this is the answer. Okay, now next, absorption. So every soil has a water absorption capacity which depends upon how porous the soil is. Okay, clay soil and the loamy soils are the most porous soils. Okay, hence can retain water in a large quantities. That is why crops can grow over these soils. Sandy soils, on the other hand, do not absorb water and hence do not support the much vegetation. So means clay soil and the loamy soils is the best soil to do the crop production. Okay, now texture of soil. Okay, the texture is the size of the particles of the soil. Okay, different kinds of the soil have a different textures, as we have discussed in earlier slide. Okay, previous slide we have discussed already. Okay, now color. What is the color? Different soils having the different colors as well. Okay, this is because of the minerals and the nutrients. So the color of the soil is responsible, the color of whatever the color of the soils is imparting. Okay, it is totally dependent on the minerals and the nutrients existence in the soils. Okay, for instance, some soils are black in color because of the presence of the humus and minerals, while some soils are red in color because they have iron in large quantities in them. So here is a reason behind it, what is the color and what is responsible thing to imparting the color of the soils. Okay, now water retention. The ability of the soil to hold a water is called the water retention. The space between the soil particles is called the porous, provide the passage for the gases and the moisture within the soil. The ability of soil to retain water is strongly related to the particle size. Water molecules hold more lightly to the fine particles of the clay soil than the coarser particles of the sandy soil. When we perform this activity with the different soil samples, we will see that sandy soil will absorb less water and allows more water to percolate. Why? Due to the size of the particles. Okay, clay soil, if we talk about the clay soil, will absorb more water but allows less water to percolate. Why? Due to the smaller size as comparison to the sandy soil. Okay, so sandy soil will absorb less water than the clay soil because of the large space between the soil particles. The area where there is a lot of clay in the soil, stagnant water collects above the soil wherever it rains, whenever it rains. Okay, this is the answer. Okay, now soil and crops. In which kind of the soils, which kind of the crop will produce? So let's see students, soil and crops. Different types of the soils are found in different parts of the India, like the black soil, like the red soil. Okay, soil is mainly affected by wind, rainfall, temperature, light and humidity. Means these all are the factor affecting of the soil. Okay, some climatic factors also affect the soil profile and bring changes in the soil structure. The plants that grow on the surface of the earth are called the vegetation. Different kinds of the plants will grow on the surface of the soil. Okay, so this is known as a vegetation. It includes green grass, herbs, shrubs, bushes, crop plants and trees. Okay, so these are the different kinds of the varieties of the vegetation. Okay, now types of soil and the crop grown. Which kind of the crop we can cultivate in which kind of the soil? Okay, so type of soil and the crop grown, that is clay soil. If we talk about the clay soil, so clay soil is suitable for the crop production for the wheat, gram and the paddy. Okay, and if we talk about the loamy soil, so it is suitable to cultivate to produce lentil, tomatoes, corn and oats. Okay, and If we talk about the sandy or loam soil, sandy loam soil means both will be the mix. Okay, so potatoes, cotton and the cereal raise. Okay, so these all are the kind of the crop which we can cultivate in the different kinds of the soils. Okay, now vegetation is mostly in the fertile topsoil of the earth and the covers the soil like a green sheet. Okay, spread on the surface of the earth. The component of soil along with various climatic factors determine the type of vegetation in a particular region. Clay and loamy soils are both suitable for growing cereals like wheat and gram. Such soils are good at retaining water quality. Okay, so if those soils which can retain the more water, okay, so means this will be the best soil. So here if we talk about the clay soil and the loamy soil, both are the good water retaining capacity soils. Okay, for paddy soils rich in clay and organic matter and having a good capacity to retain water are ideal. For lentils, that is also known as masoor, okay, and other pulses, loamy soils which drain water easily are required. For cotton, sandy loam or loam which drain water easily and can hold plenty of air are more suitable. Crops such as wheat are grown in the fine clay soils because they are rich in humus and are very fertile. Okay, now I think it is the second last topic, that is a case study. Okay, so let's see students, what is the case study. John, Rasida and Radha went to Liladhar Dada and Santosh Malviya of Sohagpur in Madhya Pradesh. This is the story like, okay, so Liladhar Dada was preparing the soil to make items like surahi, matki, kala, earthen frying pan, that is, okay, etc. John asked him to complete procedure of making such items. A summary of conversations they all had with Liladhar Dada is given below, that is, Liladhar and other porters bring the black soil from a piece of a barren land. Dry soil is then placed in a large tank and would be cleaned of pebbles, and after removing these things the soil is then soaked for around 8 hours. This soil would be kneaded after mixing burnt horse dung. Okay, now this kneaded soil is then placed on the wheel and appropriate shape is given. The final shape of the material is given with the hands. These are kept for drying for 3 days. These items are baked at high temperature after drying in air and then colored. So this was the story. Okay, this was the case study. Okay, now this is the last topic for this chapter, that is soil erosion. This is very important. When the top layer of the soil gets removed, it is called the soil erosion. The soil erosion mainly occurs when the soil is left loose without vegetation or when deforestation occurs. In such a situation, strong winds and flowing water or rainwater tanks away the topsoil and therefore decrease its quality. Also, this kills the organisms living inside the soil. And last one is that the root of the plants and trees keep the soil together and allows several microorganisms to grow and survive there. Therefore, it is always advised to plant more tree and avoid deforestation. Okay, so this is for the soil erosion. So I hope students you must have enjoyed this video. So thank you students.